Session. Have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
Start the voting. Mr. Moore. Mr. Horton.
Yes.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
And Mr. Early.
Yes.
Okay, certification resolution. Whereas the Carroll County Board of Supervisors convene a closed session this day pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and on the motion to close the meeting in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas Section 2.2-3711D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. And we went under A1, A6, and A8. Now therefore be it resolved that the Carroll County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under Virginia Freedom of Information Act were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session to which this certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which this closed session was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which this certification applies. I'll ask each board member to certify, starting with Mr. Hurley.
I so certify.
Mr. Collins.
I so certify.
Mr. Bryant.
I so certify.
Mr. Horton.
I so certify.
Mr. Moore.
I so certify.
And I so certify. And Mr. Moore will be joining us from the phone tonight, so everyone know. Okay. Next on the agenda is invocation and pledge. I'll ask Mr. Collins to lead us, please.
So stand and pray together. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to discuss the business of the county. We pray that you would help us to make wise decisions moving forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the CCHS football. I'll ask Mr. Greer to come up front. Mr. D. Haven, if you want to come too, you can. Thank you. How about you? So we wanted to talk to you. We had a request about some funding, and we just want some more information on what your needs are.
We just had a spring fundraiser raising money for things we wanted for the summer.
Okay.
We had some needs, and the athletic associations took care of a lot of them. We did pretty good on our fundraising.
Okay.
We have a wish list like any other team does,
Right.
but we're right now most of our needs are taken care of. We're just trying to get some things we want to upgrade some equipment.
Okay. Okay. What are you trying to just some?
All we're trying to buy girdles and shoulder pads just to update, make sure they're up to speed.
Okay.
Like I said, we were to kind of kick start off and get ahead of it.
Right.
The fall fundraiser.
Okay. Okay.
Those two things you mentioned, what would you say the cost would be?
$400 a shoulder pad. Girdles, we get $40 a girdle. We've got some old shoulder pads. We've got some that are 2008. They're recommended to rotate out about every 5 years. Right now, we're looking rising 9 through 12. We're about 70-man roster. We're going to try to just keep rotating out as many as we can and buy 5-6 pair at a time.
Coach, I'm glad to see you here in Carroll County.
I'm excited.
Yeah, well, we're excited too. And Kevin, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Can you tell us just a couple things you're doing differently or better, you hope?
I don't like talking about anything previous. So when I got here, our strength and conditioning program, which to me it starts everywhere. It's an extension of our practice field. We had about 4 guys in it, not counting some kids in class. So total we had probably 17 kids lifting. As of today, we lifted 62, rising 9 through 12. We're having a attendance rate of 98%. We were up to actually 70 some at a time, but some kids just decided that kind of work ethic,
Yeah.
But they're doing great. We're at 62, and that's football only. We started our middle school workout session today. We had a little over 20 kids. We're hoping to grow it. That'll be twice a week. Rising middle schooler, rising 7th, rising 8th grade. And then during the school year to finish out with baseball, basketball, and sports alone, we put 120 Carroll County athletes through the weight room today. And when I say weight room, we don't bodybuild. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. We are what we call conjugate. We work on speed, power production, agility, all that combined. So we're 100+ kids a day during the school through the summer, and then we're adding, baseball starts next week, we'll have probably another 30 kids to that. So we're looking at 90 kids a day. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, we'll go through our strength and conditioning program.
That's fantastic.
And twice a week, middle school, we're hoping to get into 30s plus. We're 20+ today.
How many were on the roster last year for football, varsity football?
Finished with 18 on varsity.
Yeah. Okay.
The rest of the JV kids that filled out
Moved
the
up.
roster
Yeah.
to have enough to look like the team on Friday night. So
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you on Friday night.
Sir.
We're excited, but we're worrying about we'll worry about Tuesday tomorrow. We go to Sparta tomorrow to compete a little bit on 7-on-7, see how things are translating. So.
Good deal. Thank you.
Anyone else have more questions for Mr. Moore? Do you have anything? Okay.
I don't. I want to thank them for all they're doing for our kids there with the strength and conditioning, and congratulate Mr. Greer and Mr. DeHaven on his new job title. That's exciting.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you guys for
Thank
what
you.
you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Tri-Area Community Health.
Good evening. Have a quick handout?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes of your time tonight to give you an update from the last time I was here a year ago. The handout that I have has some of the details from last year, so I'm not going to go through all that. I'll just focus on some of the changes since the last time I was here. The most important of which, for our sake, is Cana. I just came from Cana. As you may know, Everhart Primary Healthcare has been down there for years. It was established a long time ago, went through the current Carroll Everhart's parents were there. They're a nonprofit organization. Actually, not long after I spoke to you all last year, they contacted me and said that they were would need to transition and asked Tri-Area if we would pick up the practice so that the Cana would continue to have healthcare available. We agreed to do that, and so we've been in transition since then. The current building is off the highway. They had purchased some buildings to put on the highway. So what we've been doing over the past several months is making those ready to go. Probably our goal is July 1st to open the clinic side. And then there's also a pharmacy that we're hoping will open July 1st. But if not, then at least the clinic should open July 1st. We've retained the current staff. So Carroll Everhart will continue to practice. Megan Bowman will continue to work the front office, and Teresa King will continue to be the clinical staff person. And then we'll have a pharmacy technician down there 4 days a week as well. We try to manage both evening hours and Saturday hours as well to keep access for folks. That's something new for us, so we're going to try it down there. And then the goal is to also have the availability for the school just across the highway to come over, so open access for them so that we make sure that they have access. And then we also will have behavioral health care, case management, transportation. We'll have a variety of additional services beyond what they have been offering there. The last big change is that they were cash only, and so we are able to provide access for people with Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, and self-pay. So we're hoping that a lot more people will be eligible, and our sliding fee scale is lower than theirs. So we also hope that it will help those folks who were self-pay as well. So that's Cana, and really appreciate the support of the board and the EDA for providing us some funds for the transition down there that'll help us this year and into the future. So thank you for that. I'll move on to our work with the schools, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the other exciting development is that Last year, the school district approached us about the possibility of establishing a school-based clinic. So they included us in the expansion plan. So they committed about 700 square feet for us to have a clinic there at the high school. The goal is to open August 1st there, with on-site at the high school, and then telehealth to the other 9 outlying schools. So we'll have a nurse practitioner, a nurse, and then a counselor there in person at the high school, and then the school nurses will be the telehealth people out in the other schools, and the student services staff will help with the behavioral health counseling appointments at those other schools. We also have hired one and are advertising for a second behavioral health educator / outreach worker, so that we can do training, parent education, community work, and working with first responders and so forth. So we're hoping to provide both direct service as well as education and outreach through the school system. And as I mentioned, we have the clinic in Cana right across the street. Everybody else, if they wanted to, they could come to the high school, or they could come to one of our to our Laurel Fork clinic, for example, if they wanted direct access to care. There'll also be access to psychiatric services through telehealth there at the high school and at the other schools as well. So a variety of services. We also we were able to start the behavioral health aspect early. So starting in February, we've had behavioral health education. We haven't been able to provide services because the grant that we have wouldn't allow services, but hopefully some of you have heard about or participated in some of those outreach and education activities that held several activities with parents around behavioral health issues and counseling. And our newest collaboration with them is around food. So Tri-Area is one of 8 health centers across the country to be involved in an innovation project related to food access and healthy food. And our project proposal was to collaborate with the school to do a cross-generational activity with high school students and older adults with diabetes around healthy eating and preparing food. And so we still have to work out some of the details, but the idea is to use their off-campus building for some demonstration cooking and video and perhaps some recipe preparation, so that we can provide access for the older adults with diabetes as well as the students as well, and hopefully help promote healthy eating. The last thing that I'll mention, and then I'll stop, is the other project that we have going on that is probably of interest to you is our mobile units. So we have a mobile healthcare unit that we're trying to figure out the logistics on, and I've talked with the health department about potentially collaborating with them on some activities. But the biggest thing is that we are collaborating with the University of Virginia on the mobile mammography coach. And so UVA has submitted a grant for the equipment, and then Tri-Area needs to provide the coach so that we'll be able to provide access across Carroll County as well as the other 4 counties in Galax who we serve. So the idea would be that from every day the coach would be at a different place to provide access to people at the high school, at our Laurel Fork clinic down in Cana, out in Meadows-Sedan, wherever across the county and across our service area, so that we can provide those services for women. So that's just a quick overview of the kinds of things that we're doing here in Carroll County to promote access and collaboration, in addition to, of course, our clinic and pharmacy over there in Laurel Fork. Any questions for me about how we're trying to help?
Could you just elaborate a little bit on the clinic at the high school, which I think is a great thing, but elaborate a little bit about what you're going to be able to provide that the school nurses don't provide now?
So right now, the school nurses, they're RNs, registered nurses, and so they can say there's something happening here, but I have to refer to a licensed medical professional in order to determine whether it's strep throat or a sprained ankle or whatever it is. And so right now, what has to happen is a parent or guardian would have to take that child out of school, get access to an appointment somewhere at urgent care or the hospital or their pediatrician, and hopefully be able to get in that day, take them out of school and go, and then potentially come back, and so lose maybe most of that day of classes. Ideally, what would happen here is that student would go, the nurse would say, something's happening here, contact the parent or guardian, they'd have a release already signed with us, and they would just walk over to the clinic or walk to the school nurse at an outline school, get connected, and our nurse practitioner would be able to make a determination right there about whether they could stay in school, so they lose 45 minutes of class time as opposed to the full day. Or if they need to go home, then they would still go home in order for their own protection or for others. And the same thing in the outline schools, where they would go in, the nurse would present them on telehealth to the nurse practitioner up there at the high school, and then they would make that same determination. We have handheld equipment that allow the nurse practitioner to see in the ear, even though it's down in Cana, she'd still be able to see inside that student's ear or in their throat, hear their chest, see if there's something on their skin with a camera. So it's not the same as being in person, but there's a lot more that the nurse practitioner would be able to do with those outlying schools as well. And then the same thing with the counseling. The student would go through student services, be able to come get their counseling appointment instead of having to get an appointment, say, with Mount Rogers or out in the community, and then come back in.
Yeah, thank you. That's a huge benefit to the parents too, not having to leave work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and the staff too. So we're also available for the staff. So between the students and the staff, there about 4,200 people have immediate access to care each day.
That's great.
Anyone else have anything?
Jim, thanks for being here again.
Sure.
Could you just give us a quick synopsis of the history of Tri-Area and what your goals and objectives are?
So Tri-Area Community Health, we're a federally qualified health center, which means that we get some funding from the federal government, which allows us to provide access to all people regardless of their ability to pay, and that's where the sliding fee scale comes in. So we've been in Carroll County for over 40 years, providing services since 1982, and then have expanded most recently out since then. That was the direction from the board of directors to me when I came on in 2019, was to help more people in more places in more ways. So that's where Cana, for example, the schools have come into play. And our goal is to increase access and reduce barriers to care, whether that be primary health care, behavioral health care, pharmacy services, referrals out to specialists. We can provide those referrals. Case management, we have 4 different types of case managers to help people who are struggling with food insecurity or housing or employment, any of those kinds of issues. And then transportation to help people who are unable to get to appointments on their own. We can help with that.
Okay. And I know you're also looking into dental, but that's a tough nut to crack, right?
Yes, my board of directors has had figure out how to do dental, and our struggle is it's hard to get a dentist without a building, and it's hard to get a building without a dentist. And so we've talked about collaborating with the free clinic, the Olin Wilson Health Center, the free clinic over in Galax. They have a small unit over there, and so we've talked with some dentists and some residents about if they would come, then we could start there, and then I'm confident that I could get a building, but we haven't had any luck yet recruiting anyone. But that's the goal. If folks know of dentists who maybe don't want to be in practice anymore, but still want to practice, but don't want to be responsible for themselves and want somebody else to pay the bills, then I'd be happy to talk about that. But that's the next big project, is to try and figure out how to add dental, and then down the road maybe vision and some other services. But the main thing at this point is we're sort of in a chicken and egg situation with the dental. But yes, that's one of the priorities.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else?
Look forward to everything you're doing for our county.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your support.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda was GFL.
Good evening. My name is Jared McFarland. I'm the general manager for GFL in Withville. Let me say first, it's an honor to come to you all tonight. It's been a transition since 2022, 2021, when our contract was entered into with you all for subscription service for residents. At that time, my brother was the general manager, and I had a career in service and sales with a corporation called Centos for over 22 years. In August of 22, my brother suffered a major stroke and passed away, and GFL approached me and asked me would I be willing to take a career change. Little did I know that I would be following the footsteps of a daily nightmare. He was my older brother, so I did approach his wife and his son and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And so unanimously they agreed that I should be taking the position. So I bring to you, 22 years of experience, passion, love, and desire, just as my brother had, is moving forward. Since I've been here in October of 22, we've seen the subscription services increase in Carroll County almost 1,137 as of to date that we've increased the subscription. A lot of things have changed since the dynamics of the original contract was written in 21 due to, COVID was the biggest thing. And then the second thing was the industry's change on how we collect the trash was the transition back in 21 and as we move forward. This is a subscription service. You all do not pay anything out of pocket. We deal directly with the residents. The average calls from Carroll County for the Carroll County residents, concerns or things that billing discrepancies, needing additional pickups. If you all have our service, you'll notice that this past week, Memorial Day, we've always picked up. Well, I felt like we needed to pay tribute and honor to the ones who served their country and those who actually laid their lives down. And as we remembered, so I decided to shut down for the day. It's never been done, and we have done blitzes before, phone blitzes, and it's never been successful. So I reached out to our GFL corporate team and I said, let's make this thing work. So we worked diligently. So if you got the call, it was a 90-second recording with me on it. So the reason why we do 90 seconds is because a lot of times answering services, it won't start recording until their greeting's done. So half the message is cut off. We're very happy to say that we do employ from Carroll County. We have 37 employees, and 16 of those are from either Hillsborough, Carroll County, or Galax. So we're very happy to state that as well. Contributions wise to Carroll County, my brother took an initiative years ago to support the agriculture. He was averaging about $1,500 a year. Since then, we have now increased it to $2,500. We just did a large campaign with the Veterans Associations over at the golf course, and that was a $2,000 contribution to them. So we are giving back to the community. We are doing an initiative with the county on the disposal of the property over there. Mike and I drove around, and I said, we want to do this project. So we're going to donate our services, and all we're going to ask you all to do is take care of 2 fees and hopefully save some money and make that property look great over there. So that's pretty much a wrap for GFL Whitfield. I've been out numerous times. It is some terrain questions. We do have some difficulties, but there again, it is subscription service. And things are changing as we have lost some drivers. These are not just drivers. Our automated trucks make them operators. So for 12 hours a day, we're asking them to drive from the right-hand side, take care of the residents, take care of what needs to happen, and stay safe. So in the years past, rear load trucks have been used, and GFL has suffered numerous fatalities this year alone, and so has the industry because of where the traffic and helpers on the rears of the truck would cross the lane of traffic, or people just not paying attention. We have live drive cams in our units, and I'm getting alerts. Normally, the average alert have been 3.8 on the alerts per day in Carroll County is what's happening currently. That could be anything from a jar, for vibration on the truck, braking, accelerating. Fortunately enough, we have not had an accident in Carroll County with one of our commercial vehicles, so very proud of that as well. Last year, we did have the Outstanding Achievement award that was given to our drivers, so we had 6 of our drivers that got the award, so very, very thankful that. And our whole goal is to pick up the residents' trash, make sure they're satisfied. We do have unlike a lot of companies, we have a local we call her customer service rep. It's Angie. She lives over in Independence. Her son-in-law works for us, and we're very happy to have a live voice. And of course, if you've called the office, my office administrator, Jim, she's been with us for years, and our operations supervisor, Doug, who's been out numerous times. He's been with the company for over 30 years. So the tenure is there. All I had to do is to come in and make sure I take care of the employees and love on the customers. So that's what I'm here for tonight, is to make sure that you all are getting what you need, and make sure that we're doing what we need to do for you all, and understand there is some concerns.
Jared, thank you for coming. You and I have ridden around before.
Sure.
Good to see you again.
Absolutely.
Y'all provide a good service at a reasonable price, and I appreciate that. And most citizens in Carroll County appreciate it as well. However, I'd like to ask you, when you got your trucks that do not require but one person, when did those show up?
To give you an exact date on that, I would have to go back. But when Waste Industries was in the acquisition stage to Green for Life, Waste Industries had already started converted to the automated trucks, and we were starting to convert the customer base at that point prior to 2021.
So sometime around 2021?
Yes, sir.
Right here I have a list, 34 people in my district, 34 households suddenly are not going to be served any longer. And I looked at your agreement, it says accessible. So they were accessible from 2021 until just recently. What made them unaccessible?
That's a great question. And the best explanation I can give to you is this. If the driver or employee of mine does not feel safe, and he feels like that he is a professional driver, it is not my job to tell him whether to proceed down that route or not. And if it is not as safe for him, nor will I allow him to go into that situation. And I went down several of those roads with you. We agreed that, and it's not that we want to discontinue the service, it's just that things have changed. Air trucks do meet or exceed, the standards of DOT. However, the problem that we are having is our drivers on a lot of the rural gravel roads just do not feel safe on them now. The state maintains they're just not being taken care of the way they were in 2021.
Well, VDOT's here. They might not agree with that.
Well, I mean, I'll be more than happy to go one-on-one with VDOT and take them out there, and we can work on that together. We do that with numerous municipalities, town of Pulaski, Montgomery County. Carroll County is a very rural area. We knew that going into it, and we're trying to fulfill the subscription of the residents as best possible. But with the changes that's happening in, with the drivers and the safety for our drivers, that's the number one concern for us.
So they felt safe for 3 years doing it, and now they're not?
I can tell you this: the safety standard for GFL has changed in the past 3 years, and we will continue to be the leader in safety in this industry.
With all due respect, you started out your presentation by saying you just got an additional 1,100 customers in Carroll County.
Yes.
Could that have anything to do with not wanting to serve the harder locations?
This is just call-in. We have not solicited any subscription service in Carroll County.
Yeah, but you can eliminate 34 residences in my district, and I don't know how many in everybody else's district. You got 1,100 extra here recently. I mean, could it be it'd be easier not to serve these locations?
We can continue to service the locations.
If they take a 50-pound trash can a half a mile to a paved road.
I understand that in some areas that were served, we are asking to work with you all that they cannot continue to do the things. And once again, GFL safety standard and my passion is for all of my employees to remain safe on a daily basis.
Well, I'm a firm believer in safety. I'm also a firm believer that we need to try to serve everybody in Carroll County.
I would love to do that, but unfortunately, there are areas that my employees nor our safety standard can continue to go in.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything?
I just reiterate what Jody was saying. We've got numerous customers in Carroll County that's constantly knocking our door down, asking why they're not getting service. And I just think it's a problem we need to address.
Mhm.
I don't know if we need to do it one-on-one with you and VDOT and the board to try to help, but we need to look into it.
Sure, absolutely. And there again, we have worked diligently to find centralized spots. We drove around. My ops supervisor and I, maintenance manager who handles a $19 million fleet. We drove around, and then our human resources regional director from Raleigh, North Carolina, actually has a vacation home here. So our corporate, our local, is very aware of Carroll County and how important subscription service is.
What are you doing in other counties to service these people that has problems like us? Little dirt roads, you have smaller trucks.
We actually, as contracts are written up going forward, as the safety standards are done, there are addendums, and there is price difference for areas that are served with a lot of rural roads. It's just, currently we felt like that under the subscription service that it was a good, fair price for the residents of Carroll County. We did not want to disturb that, nor do we want to disturb that price, because everything that we paid for in 2021 is not the same in 2024. Everything, it takes me right now, I have to replace 3 cameras on a truck. That I cannot put that truck on the road because there was some damage that done from some limbs. Limbs were hanging down, and I had to replace 3 cameras. I've been waiting 4 weeks on those cameras. Did it disturb service? No, it didn't. Didn't interrupt anything at all. But I had the truck sitting because parts, since COVID, you just can't get them. We continuously wait. Right now, our drivers are working toward milestones, and they want to get better. So there's things that future agreements that Pat Luce, who handles all of my municipalities, that we'll look at in future agreements. But as it stands right now, we want to continue to move forward with the subscription and try to accommodate the residents. When I came here, they was driving a pickup truck around, and there was about 9 houses that they were going to pick it up in a pickup truck. Well, 3 things with that: safety, safety, safety. That's not who we are. That's not what this industry is going to move forward. If you go to any of my competitors on a national level, automated service, because of the workforce, and you all are dealing with it as well, you can't find people to work. My pay is above average for the industry, and especially for this region.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one thing before you go. I do thank you for coming to service. You said you contacted all your customers Memorial Day.
We contacted everyone who was on the blitz.
Okay, I just signed up
You just signed up?
a couple weeks ago. Took a week or 2 to get the trash can there,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. I understand that. But I didn't get any kind of call.
Yeah. When you go to your online billing, you'll notice that there is a section on there, and I'll double check to make sure that it's toggled for you.
Okay. It sit out there for 3 days. Nobody.
Glare on your name. I apologize.
That's Joey Dixon.
Thank you.
It sit out there for 3 days. Nobody. So we just rolled it back in. So I didn't get any kind of information.
I'll find out about that. Why
Okay.
you weren't added in on the blitz, if it's toggled or not.
Okay.
There again, we're moving forward. I mean, a year ago there was no phone blitz. My goal is to eventually have texting. So, and if the county has a website where you put those alerts out, and you all would want to partner with us to do that, we would be more than happy to give you that information and to where it would be easily accessible to the residents as well.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Moore.
and I apologize for not being there, but I appreciate, GFL every time that the board has asked y'all to come and do a presentation. Y'all been willing to come. Are there any amendments that have been made to our contract as far as 2024, 2025 would be my first question. And the second question I have is, is there something that yourself and possibly Mike could do to look in some of these places like Mr. Early was talking about with 34 customers, that we could maybe have a something dropped that morning and then maybe picked up that afternoon to give the citizens opportunity to throw it in it. I know it wouldn't be something you'd want to leave overnight, account of everybody just throwing their trash in it. But is that an option or not?
So let me address the first question, and basically I'll turn to Mike on that. The original agreement that was done in 2021 was a 3-year agreement with the option of extensions at that time. So as we approach that in 2025, we will be looking at that. Is that correct, Mike? Yes. Then the second question, no, there has not been any other amendments to that original agreement from 2021. As far as the second question goes, when Mike and I were driving around, I love the Cana Convenience Center. That was phenomenal. It's perfect. The residents can come there, and if you go to a lot of the other counties, they have convenience centers, and you have to have somebody to facilitate those convenience centers. Fortunately enough, we do have some accounts that we, take care of the convenience centers for the county. But the county provides the facilities and pays for the equipment for that service to the residents. So as far as dropping something, Mike and I looked at several different options. You would, from what we call a commercial front-end container, that would be anything from a 4-yard to an 8-yard, all the way down to a self-contained roll-off that could be put somewhere in these areas, centralized, just as that convenience center is in Cana. So it is, something that we would be willing to work with you all on if it makes sense for you all, makes sense for us. I mean, that's the partnership we're in.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Once again, on behalf of GFL Withville, thank you all so much. Look forward to seeing you all hopefully at the agricultural fair, and very, very proud to be a part of the community here. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. And next on the agenda is voter registration.
Feel kind of short, sorry.
You can pull that down too.
I don't want to break it. Okay, I don't want to yell at you either. Thank you all for letting us speak with you tonight and present some things to you. I sent an email out, and I'm hoping you got it, on May the 24th that had some information about what we were going to be presenting and asking about tonight. Were you all able to take a look at that, or does anybody need a copy of some of that info?
We took a look at it.
Okay. Some of it we're revisiting, some of it is new. One of the things is revisiting the Woodlawn D&E. We had an issue after we had come to you all the last time, had an issue and found out that our public vendor, and our public was our problem there, our public vendor is dropping Virginia. So we have had to since look at and make a purchase for a different public system. So after this June election, we won't be using that problematic system anymore. So what we're looking at now, we could still have the two, the Woodlawn D and Woodlawn E in the Carroll Senior Center there, but we would need to separate them physically, so we would need to look at something like move dividers, those two polling locations where they've been interacting have, we can separate so that they will function separately. We checked into that before we made the purchase on this equipment. So we should be good with Woodlawn. So I think everybody would probably be happy with that. Do y'all have any comments or questions about that particular item? Okay. We do want to revisit rolling the Mount Bethel into St. Paul. I've got some information on the number of registered voters. You're just under 1,000 at Mount Bethel and a little over 1,300 at St. Paul. There is space at St. Paul for that many folks. There's space for the equipment. There's parking, handicap access. St. Paul is one of our, I guess, best setups in the whole county as far as what we need for voters and officers of election to do what they need to do. We do have trouble with the phone signal. At Mount Bethel, one of our big issues is the parking there. At that particular facility, there's about 9 parking spots. We have to designate 3 of those for certain things. So for almost 1,000 voters, they've got about 6 spots left. And then they're going down the road a little bit and parking at the church and walking back up. If you've got a nice, pretty day, June election or something like that, that might not be too bad. But if you're somebody, maybe you've got a walker or if you're in a wheelchair or what have you, and the one handicap spot is taken up, if you are one of those that has to go down into the church parking lot and come back up, that might not be so great for you. So we do have a significant concern, especially for the November and the higher turnout elections, that voters just do not have sufficient parking at the Mount Bethel polling location. We have a very hard time getting folks to work there. Most of the officers of election that we have, they will sign up and they want to work their voting precinct. We have a handful that are willing to travel anywhere to an adjoining or what have you, but then we have that mountain. People don't want to go from below the mountain to come up the mountain and work on election day, and on the upper side they don't want to go down because they're having to be at the polling places at 5 o'clock in the morning. And for a busy election like in November, it might be 9 or 10 o'clock at night before they get to leave, and driving up and down that mountain, they just don't feel comfortable. They don't feel safe doing that. They're starting out super early or they're exhausted at the end of the day. So we have a hard time getting folks to staff that. We have asked people, well, if you'll go down there this one time, then we'll try to get somebody else next time. We're kind of running out of folks that we can do that with. We've only got one person who is registered in Mount Bethel who is actually working that polling place right now. So we're looking at it from not just what's best for the voters, but what's good and safe for our officers of election as well. And I know this is something that we had brought up before, but we've not had any discussion since then. So I'm wondering how do y'all feel about that move? Is that something you're willing to look at, talk about further, have a public hearing on, or are you just totally against making that change? I don't want to beat a dead horse, and we don't want to harass you all, but nobody knows what to say about that one, do they? So what do we need to do with that?
I think that's something that the board just take under advisement.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
So no, pardon my ignorance, what does that mean? So there's no resolution to it, or?
We'll talk about it and discuss it some more.
Okay.
Before we decide to make a decision.
Are there any questions, anything that we're not commenting on, or any concerns that you have about that we're not giving you information on that you might need to help with your discussion?
I don't think so. Do y'all have any?
I think we've got enough.
Okay. All right. One thing that is becoming a little more of a concern is the Vaughn precinct. I don't know if you all have actually visited that polling location. It's on Ivanhoe Road. It's the Vaughn Civic League building. That's another one where we have a hard time getting folks to work at that polling place, and a lot of the issue with that is because it is so run down. It's like a metal garage building sitting in a field. The drive coming into it is horrible. Potholes. The gentleman that has been the custodian there, he's 87 years old. He came in the office a few days ago, probably one day last week, and he said after this June election he can't do it anymore. And the Civic League members, a lot of their folks were elderly. They passed away. They've got nobody else who's willing to step in and maintain or perform as a facility custodian for us for that building. He's told us that the roof needs to be repaired, the floor needs to be painted. I'm not sure, maybe there's cracks. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the floor there. I know they did have some plumbing issues. I think that was taken care of. He said that he tries to bring in some gravel for the drive going into, but there's some folks that live to the left of that polling location that use that's their driveway. They're coming in and out, and what he brings in, it's not long before it's gone. It didn't really do any good. He's indicated that the Civic League members or that association, they really don't have the money to maintain that facility. So what we have is that metal building with a field for a parking lot. And as far as our ADA compliance and being able to provide firm, stable, slip-resistant parking and a sufficient area for those folks, after he leaves, there's going to be, unless you all know of somebody, there's going to be nobody taking care of that facility for us. So we desperately need to do something with Vaughn. And I'm sure that the Civic League, they're doing what they can. They just don't have the funding or the manpower or what have you to keep that up. Another thing, kind of rolling into that, Gladeville precinct has over 1,700 registered voters. They do not have the entry for the polling location is on the backside where the buses pick up. You have those 5, 6, 7 long bus parking spots. That's the parking that they have for almost 2,000 voters. And the voters have expressed concerns to the electoral board before about not being able to find parking when they go to vote. One thing that we have been thinking of, the board and myself, is trying to find some way to possibly relocate both of those. We did find a spot. It's at the Cliffview Church of God. They have an entirely separate building behind the church that has a gym on the first floor. Both of those, and they have a nice paved parking lot. The building's maintained, it's kept up, so that wouldn't be an issue for us. We can do the same type thing that we would be doing at the Carroll Center for the 2 woodlawns. We can have some room dividers and separate and have 2 separate precincts. So Vaughn still has their precinct, Gladeville still has their precinct, but they're in a more functional building with a better parking area for those 2 places. So,
I've got a question. How many voters in Vaughn?
in Vaughn,
You get 150 if you're lucky on a good day, maybe.
150?
oh no, they're like 600 or 700 for Vaughn.
At Vaughn? No.
Yeah.
No.
675 at Vaughn. Yes,
That votes.
Oh, that votes, I don't
The
know.
average
That's
vote's
how many.
probably about 200 at the
Well,
most.
but we have to be prepared for
I
675
understand that.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it
you
depends
want,
on the
you want
election.
the people in Hebron and Glendale to drive to Clearview to vote instead of voting at Gladeville School.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because going from Gladeville over to Cliffview is 8 minutes. It's 4.5 miles from where they were going to Gladeville School.
A question about where the parking at Gladeville. You said the 6 bus lane
And that
parking.
6, that might not be right, but
Right,
it's the
but
long.
Are
Yeah.
the buses left there?
They're not left there. The folks pull in there, but you're not 2 or 3 cars in each one. So when you come out, you may be able to leave, you may not, you may be blocked in. The handicap access, they have the marked handicap spot. If you're looking at the doors going into the gym there where they vote, the handicap spot is on the left. And it's wide enough for a handicapped vehicle and an access aisle in that one spot. But the access, the curb cut is on down. You've got to go down past the buses, come up over the curb cut, then come back to the voter entrance. So if somebody's in a wheelchair, walker, or what have you, when the buses are dropping off or they're picking up, they're coming through however their route is and however much time it takes. But these folks in the handicap spots are having to go down the walk and then cut over and then come back up. So it makes it a little tricky for somebody.
Can you not park in front of the school? Go down the hallway?
No, they're not. No, they've got a whole separate entrance, so they'd have to
I mean,
check in school, I guess. And
why wouldn't that be an option? I mean, I voted there before. The school's closed, so why can't you go in the front door and park?
Well, school's not always closed.
Well, most of the time.
So
I'm just
park
saying.
all the way in the front and come around to,
I'm just not into moving, especially this late in the year, any kind of voting precincts. I mean,
even if it would benefit your voters.
we're already in June. I mean, you're going to
Mhm.
confuse everybody and make people go.
Well,
go
everybody
vote.
that votes would get something in the mail. We'd advertise it so that everybody knows. We put signs up at the old voting location so they know exactly where they're going.
I understand that, but it's still. I'm just not interested at this time.
In making any
Myself.
kind of improvements.
Any kind of changes, no.
Well, we're always going to have an election coming, so
Right, and that's why we talked about we take it under advisement, and we can talk some more. Maybe something we
right.
can do next year.
okay. The next thing that we would like to ask about is relocation of our voter registration and elections office. Changes, the equipment that we've got to have, the requirements that the state has for us, and what we have to do before the election, on election day, after the election, increase in our early voting turnout because it's no longer no excuse. Anybody in Carroll County can come vote early any of those 45 days that they want to do so. Physical equipment security, office staff security. You all know that the elections environment has become a lot more aggressive. Just with folks having a lot of things out in the media coming at them, they don't necessarily trust what we're doing like they used to, regardless of the precautions that we take, and it's hard to change somebody's mind about that. Mm-hmm. We are having to do a lot of what we do out in the hallway downstairs. When we're getting ready for the election, and it's not just that we go grab equipment out, we do something with it once, we put it up, and we don't touch it again. We're constantly getting up, even once we start an election cycle, we're getting updates from the state, things that we've already worked on and already got put together. We have to go back and make changes to because they've changed the procedure or they changed the policy or they've decided to improve on something. So we've got to go back and make changes to everything that we're dealing with. But we have cages in the maintenance room that's downstairs on the first floor. There's probably 7 or 8 of those cages in there, and it never fails. The one thing we need to get to is the cage that's in the back corner. We've got to move all of that into the hallway to try to get to the cage that we need to work on. The storage room that we have, the electoral board meeting room, where all of our equipment and things are stored. To be able to work on everything and spread it out and do something with it, you have to pull things out of that room. It's sitting in the hallway. So when folks are here, they're walking in the middle of our voting equipment. On the day after the election, the couple of days that the maintenance guys are bringing things back, that voting equipment has votes and information stored on the machine, and there's no place to put it but out in the hallway because we do not have room to put it in a secured location, at least for one day. We're not getting to that until late in the day. Folks are walking by it. We're blocking passage. We're blocking fire extinguishers. Bless their hearts, maintenance is trying to do what they need to do. So they do ask us to move them out from in front of the fire extinguishers. Well, if we do that, then we're moving them into the hallway and we're blocking where people have to go by. And I know lots of other folks need space as well, but we don't see anybody else that's having to work out of the maintenance closet or in the hallway or out of the storage area in the basement. Most of the time, folks are using storage in the basement just for that storage. But the things that we're using in our elections and day to day, we're up and down going to the basement, bringing out supplies and working on things down there as well. So we need a more functional and more secure space. We've just outgrown it. Things change, requirements change. What you have to do or don't have to do changes. We want somewhere, we need somewhere that we can have things locked up, secured, in a safe spot so that the integrity of what we're doing, the elections that we're conducting, folks aren't coming by and seeing, equipment and supplies out in the hallway with nobody around to keep an eye on it, because that doesn't look very good. We don't think it looks very good. It looks like we are, I don't want to say shirking our duty, but we're just not as attentive as we should be to where things are, and that's not the case. We're trying to move around, we're trying to function the best that we can, but we just do not have the functionality and the space that we need for storage or early voting or just day-to-day operation anymore. I don't know if you own other properties in the county, empty buildings sitting somewhere that can be considered for something like this. We have been kind of looking around a little bit to see if we see something empty that might be a possibility. We did find something in Hickory Hill Shopping Center, and I did check on that. I asked Mike about that before I made any moves. But just to gather information on it, that's the only one that we've really found that's a possibility at this point. It's still in town. It's not far from the county building. A lot of other localities are doing the same type thing, Montgomery County, Pulaski County, Tazewell County, and it's for the same reason. They've outgrown the space that they were in 5 or 10 years ago. So it's not something that's out of the norm. Some of those other localities might have some input from the administrative side that you'd be interested in checking on to see, how that works or why they opted to do that, if it's a concern as far as not being in the county building anymore. Security, if we're in a separate facility, there's measures that can be taken, alert buttons, that type thing. If you've got town and county police milling around, we're as secure there with some precautions as we would be downstairs in the building here. If somebody walks in downstairs and God forbid they pull out a gun, they're not going to let us take a couple of minutes to make a phone call and then do something else with the gun. So there's a lot of considerations, and I don't want to jump into something. I sent a copy of that sample, the draft lease that the realtor had sent me. If that's not a good deal, then that's not something you want to do. But if that's not a good deal, then we would like to be able to move on and look for something else to try to find out what would be a good deal, if you all are agreeable to allowing us to find a more functional location.
Hey, Mike, I have a question. Where maintenance helps with some of the machines and moving around and stuff. Do we have any where over at the county garage that's got a secure spot there that we could put some of that stuff in? Or
I think the issue is it's not being easily accessible. I mean, you have to go all the way to the basement. It's in a caged area. It's used for storage. I think that's part of the issue. It's not that we can't find room to locate things in the basement. It's just it's not very conducive to.
Yeah, but I mean over at the county garage, is there like certain bays that we could have blocked off just for that, or is it all in use where we don't use it no more for county vehicles?
Well, you could have it blocked off, but then when we have like maintenance being done on the equipment, L&A testing, you'd be doing a lot of back and forth, or we'd be bringing in more staff to cover the office while we go do other things. So, and if we need to run and check serial numbers or check, anything on that machine, then we would be literally driving to another location to do that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the county garage is closer than the one over at Hickory Hills. As far as if we had like, what I was thinking, Mike, is that upper bay up there that's got a door there that's accessible. Would that be secure
for the entire? I'm not sure I'm understanding what he's talking about, Mike. I'm sorry.
Are you wanting to move the whole office, or
yes.
just there where the machines and stuff
No,
are?
the whole office, so that we can have everything together, because we're constantly going back and forth with the machines, with paperwork and things we've got stored there. So it isn't just we're getting those machines out for the election and we're not messing with those any other time.
Mr. Chairman,
my apologies.
That's okay. No, I may not have explained it very well. I'm sorry.
Yeah, from what I'd understood was that you needed them like for a day after the election to be set somewhere to that information.
That's one of our biggest concerns.
Go ahead, Mr. Early.
First, thank you for coming and telling us what your concerns are, because that's how we find out about them.
Thank you.
Are you telling me we've outgrown this building already?
I think so. I think other folks are looking for space as well.
Well, I know there are some others looking for space.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shock you with
that. Are you telling me that people are walking around in the basement when you got these machines out?
We don't have the machines in the basement, but some of our other supplies and things that we work on, instead of bringing it upstairs, we do some of our work in the basement.
Well, what are people doing down there? The only other thing down there is the sheriff's.
No, I'm not saying anybody's down there, but nobody else is having to do their work out of the basement, is the point. They're storing things in the basement, but they're not having to do their day-to-day activities in the basement.
And the past 20 years, Carroll County has been between 28,000 and 30,000 people. it hadn't changed all that much. So how have we outgrown your office?
Well, we didn't have 45 days of no excuse early voting. One day, the last presidential election, they voted 400 people in one day. We have long lines, we have longer wait times because we've only got room for 2 people to vote at a time, so everybody else is waiting. They're taking up the parking out in the parking lot when folks are here paying taxes because during June elections and November, that's the same time tax tickets are due. So we're taking up space in the hallway, we're taking up space in the hallway with our voting equipment, our supplies. And as far as I know, the registrar before me was dealing with the same thing. She just may not have mentioned it, but that was an issue for them as well because that's one of the first things that I heard when I was appointed and came to work here in Carroll County, that we needed a larger space. I think there's some other offices that have approached county administration about additional space as well. So it's not just us needing room.
Okay. My personal experience, I've never been to early voting in your office if there was more than one other person there.
Well, then did you early vote in the November elections? Because that would be a rare occasion to have one person in November. Since the no excuse began, and that's just been a few years ago.
I'm just saying that I've never seen more than one other person.
Well,
I don't know.
we've had lines out the hallway and wrapped around the
I believe
front doors where you come in. So yeah, I'm not trying to lie to you.
I know you're not. I'm not saying you are.
And you might be the lucky one that hits it at a good time.
No, I always get I get in the slow line all the time. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Next on the agenda is BDOT.
Thank you all for having us. I've got with me Will Crawford. He's from our Transportation Planning Office. And then y'all know Dave Ledford from the Residency Office. But I'm sure you know, too, that every other year the localities are able to apply for smart scale funding for construction projects that qualify. 2 years ago, you all applied for this project. It's a what's called a modified R cut. It's a through cut there at the intersection of 58 and Colson Church Road. It was identified as a high accident location, and when we looked at it, we proposed having right in, right out, and accommodating U-turns.
Thank you.
And I understand it's the county's desire that be resubmitted again this round, and we intend to do that. Just want to make sure you didn't have any questions on that. And the next project is a new application, which is some improvements to the intersection of 221 and Hartscuffle and 100. And what we had proposed was constructing a roundabout at that location.
Thank you.
And again, as a part of asking for your support, we wanted to know if you had any questions or concerns, and that we might attempt to answer. But Will can talk to you about the benefits of roundabouts as opposed to a typical intersection.
Yeah, so really the main benefit of this is going to be safety improvements. There's been a fatality at this intersection here, and what a roundabout is going to do is really slow that through traffic through and allow a nice steady movement of traffic through while not stopping anyone and really reducing those conflict points. That's the main benefit of this roundabout here.
Lisa, I do have one thing. I know that previously talking about this to Dave and Will Dotson and actually Brad, the concern was possibly having enough room. But from what I understand, maybe there was a meeting with a lot of people last week or the week before. Do you still think we'll have enough room to do that?
We do, Mr. Moore, and we were looking as to how we could construct it with the least disruption. And I think, we can turn traffic up 100 and back and maybe build the whole thing out out of the flow of traffic. If that makes sense.
Now, Lisa, I was able to attend that meeting at the when we had all the individuals from the VDOT there that were discussing it. One of the things that they brought up to us as we were there, this intersection, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, that this intersection wouldn't qualify for a light. That there's an issue with the intersection. You'd have to ask the engineers and the planning and all the other ones that were there, and then the design contractor doing that. You know, one of the reasons why this was looked at is the possibility that it would never, you wouldn't be able to get a light there and have it function correctly. To be honest with you, I was not a fan of roundabouts. You know, it's, you know, there's places in which they're good and there's places in which they're bad. In Southwest Virginia, I would probably never fault that a roundabout would be something that could possibly work, but you know, after the explanation of, you know, the vehicles would continue motion, I mean, there'd be some learning. I mean, we all understand there'd be some learning. We still have to learn every time we go to one of these areas. It becomes more popular, but as far as fatality, you should see less. I think that some of the, you know, the confusion that goes along with it, from my understanding, is going to be designed for a tractor trailer to be able to make these turns. And one that future development when it comes to when it's ever expected the road. I'm trying to think of what that road is. Yeah. So I guess tonight the basic idea is to come and discuss this openly and see if this is something that the board wants to consider moving forward, or do we pull back and try to look for something on down the road. Just to give an example, this project here, if the board was supported, it would be put into the planning process, the grant process. It would be paid through state dollars, or I guess state dollars through VDOT. You're looking at you know, this project wouldn't be finished 3 years. Okay, so this is not an overnight.
8 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you're looking at a construction time by the time, you know, your smart skills already went through this thing, so you're 2 to 4 years out before you get to approval on that. Then all the engineering design, all the construction work. I mean, the construction on it, when we talked about it on the site, wouldn't be but 8 weeks or something, depending on if you were able to block off hard scuffle and allow to work on one side of the road. If you worked on one side of the road, decided 100's on, and allowed traffic to go through it, made it almost like a T thing direction, you could get construction and save some money on it. But if you left it open for all 4 directions during that period, you're liable to extend double your time of construction and your interruption. So,
one of the reasons I like the idea is just to, you know, I've spent a lot of time in that intersection in my life, and if you're coming off 100, it's very hard to see 221. It's just a very short distance, and like I say, there's a lot of trucks going to the quarry, and there's a lot of school traffic during school year right there in the mornings and in the afternoons, and you know, I feel that, you know, it would smooth it out some. So that's one of the reasons I like that idea. I'd love to see it be a better road through hard scuffle connecting the bypass. But you know, thank y'all for coming and for looking at it. And that's about all I have to say about it. But,
Thank you. Anybody else have anything?
Mike, are you talking about 8 years on the 221 to 58 as well? Same timeline?
no, that hasn't been put into the plan. I don't know whenever that would, the hard scuffle.
It'd be a similar timeline. So they're both going into the application cycle. If you all want to proceed with that, they'd be going into the same application cycle. So it's a similar timeline for those.
For the hard scuffle? Is that the one we're talking about?
I'm talking about 628, 221.
Yeah. Right there at Coastal Church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the deadline or the application deadline is
August 1st for the application deadline. So we're actively working on the 58 and Colson Church intersection has already been applied for last round. It didn't get funded, so it's being reapplied for this round if you all still support it, along with the roundabout project.
I have another question. Since a light is not an option, are there any other options besides a roundabout?
We were presented with the roundabout option, so that's what we have pursued. That's what was brought to us by the locality. So I'm not sure what other options there. We haven't looked any further into other options. This is the one that we pursued. We brought it to our consultants. We've reviewed it through our traffic engineering and L&D, and they agreed that this was a good project for this location. So that's what we went forward with.
Any more questions? Okay. And I do have one favor to ask you while I have you here. I have a gentleman, Millstone Road, talk to Mr. Phillips. If we can maybe do a traffic count there sometime on the unpaved part.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you reminded me of something.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
You mentioned fatalities there at 100 and 221. Breezy Ridge, I brought that up a while back. There was a fatality there within the past year and several accidents. Anybody looked at that to see if you can improve the safety where Breezy Ridge comes out on 58?
Yeah, that's a location that we're aware of, that we're starting to look into that crash data and having traffic, and that's, depending on if that's a project that you all are wanting to pursue potentially next round for Smart Scale, it could be a good project location. There's several different intersections through there that need to be looked at that are really trouble intersections as far as safety goes. And it's, there are V-Trans needs through there, which is what guides us on where to spend the dollars and what makes it eligible for Smart Scale funding.
And we're trying to kind of put these projects in the pipeline, so we can start looking at them now to get ready for the next subsequent rounds of Smart Scale. But yes.
Okay, good.
Those are locations that we're aware of and looking into.
Well, short term, just trimming the trees back so you can see the stop sign, because you come down the hill and the stop sign's right on top of you.
Okay.
So maybe.
Lisa, is that something that we could do as far as an application process if we looked at that road and maybe put Joy Ranch Road there with it,
Yes, we plan to do that, but the timeline is tight for this year, so we're planning on the next round to look at that series of intersections. Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right.
And just for y'all's information, it's a 2-year cycle, so it would be 2 years from now that we'd be able to pursue that as a potential application.
Just some of the shorter term fixes, Lisa, you mentioned trees. Somebody mentioned trees being trimmed. I mean, who do we need to report that to get those things done? I mean, we have lots of issues, especially this time of year.
No, you can always call the office, call me, go by and see Dave, and we can try to take care of those and address them as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some real safety issues, and one I'm going to ask you about on Hurl Rock Road in Cana. There's a bridge there that has no guardrails. What's the possibility of getting some guardrails on that?
I'd have to take a look at it. I'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reflector at the entrance and the exit of that bridge, and one of those has been knocked down by somebody going over the bridge, and it's been down for months.
Some of those bridges are a little tough to get guardrail on. That may be one of them, but I'll look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very dangerous spot. I mean, it's just it needs something. It at least needs the reflectors put back up that have been knocked down. Hurl Rock. That's a weird road anyway. I don't know why. Hurl Rock comes through. William Drive goes right and left, and there is no stop sign there. I mean, it's very dangerous intersection, period. Not a lot of traffic.
Anything else? Thank y'all for coming.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution of support that you're seeing in your packet for.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and I have a second. We'll start the voting with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. Next on the agenda is the public hearing for the comprehensive plan. We'll open it at 8:20.
See you.
And no one's signed up to speak, correct? Chris, no one's signed up to speak. Okay. So we'll close the public hearing at 8:21. The comprehensive plan. Okay. You want to speak on the comprehensive plan while you're here, or nobody signed up?
I gave a short presentation at the last meeting in May.
Right.
I'd be happy to answer any follow-up questions that you have, go through anything that you want. Nothing has changed since then. Of course, the Planning Commission has already approved it. We had our public hearing.
Okay.
But if there's any follow-up.
Do you want to have any questions on the board? Okay. All right, we thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Next. Yes, sir.
I think the only other process in order to approve the comprehensive plan is with the for the board to vote. Go ahead and approve it so that we can add it to our website.
Okay.
Have it adopted.
I will entertain a motion to approve the comprehensive plan that the planning commission has already approved.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Mr. Early to have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. We'll start the vote with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
and I vote yes. And next on the agenda is citizens' time. Nobody signed up? Okay. Next on the agenda is the minutes. We have May 6th, 2024 and May 13th, 2024, A and B. I'll entertain a motion to approve them separately or together.
I'll make that motion to approve them together.
Okay, have a motion to approve both A and B together. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Moore. Start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, next on the agenda is the consent calendar. We entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Mr. Bryant to have a second.
Second.
Okay, start the vote with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, next on the agenda, the invoices. We can do them separately or we can do them together. You have A, May 17th, 2024, and B, June 3rd, 2024. I entertain a motion.
I make that motion to approve them together.
Okay, I have a motion to approve both these together. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, next on the agenda is new business, FY25 quarterly appropriations. I have a motion to approve this.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll start the vote with Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next on the agenda is old business. We have any old business, Mr. Watson?
No, sir.
Okay. And next will be board member comments. I will start with Mr. Horton.
Just want to thank the staff for everything you guys have been doing to help us. Seems like we've got our processes kind of doing a lot better now. I'd like to first make a motion to approve the new contract for our county administrator for the new term.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Horton to approve the new contract for the county administrator that we discussed in closed session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Early. Okay, we'll start the vote with Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Horton.
Yes.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Early.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
That's all I got. I appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Horton. Mr. Bryant.
Yeah, I just like to thank the staff and just thank everybody that came out tonight with their concerns and the presentations.
Okay. Mr. Collins.
Just to thank everybody, and Mike, I'll get with you and talk to you about some ideas on. I'd like to see us have some way for the citizens to report their concerns with roads and things, and feel like the county is supporting them on that. That makes sense. I mean, I know we can call VDOT. A lot of people confused, don't know who to call, and I'm not asking for us to take all the calls, but if there was an email or something set up where people could report hazards that could be then presented to VDOT in some way. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. That's all I have.
Great idea.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Early.
Well, as usual, I'd like to thank everybody for all the hard work, especially the Planning Commission and Ronald for all the work that went into the comprehensive plan. And, we stuck with it and we got it done. I'm glad, appreciate all you did, Ronald, and everybody on the Planning Commission. I'd like to reiterate that, we requested a month or so ago for the EDA to provide funding for the tri-area facility in Cana. I'd like to reiterate to them, to the county administrator, that they provide that funding at one time, as opposed to stretching it out over 3 years. A couple of weeks ago, I had free tire and small appliance drop off at the landfill. That was a great idea. I think we need to expand on it though, to limit people to 4 tires. I don't think it's sufficient. We've got a huge tire problem around the county with people throwing over the banks and everything else. So I'd like to see that at least monthly. And, as long as it's just a resident, but there should be no limit on how many tires they can drop off. 4 tires is a good start, but we can do better than that. And then finally, I'm glad VDOT is so proactive and taking care of safety concerns within the county. And I can assure you that when that roundabout opens, I'm selling pipe for Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Early. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I would just like to thank the employees and thank the board again for allowing me to be on by phone, and apologize to the citizens again. And hopefully we can get to attending the meetings and doing our part. But until then, I appreciate the board allowing me to be on by phone. I know sometimes it's aggravating, and thank everybody for coming out tonight. Had a lot of good presentations, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I'll go last. Do want to thank the staff, the board. It's been good to work with, and I appreciate everything you do. I appreciate all that came out tonight. Staff that works hard in our EMS and fire, sheriff's office, of course, the things they do. It's not all I had tonight, other than Tracy. I do appreciate you coming in on the phone. I know you've got a lot going on, and you still give your all to the county. We do appreciate that more than you know. I hope it's better.
Absolutely, and like I say, I would ask for y'all to continue to pray for her. She's been really sick the last couple of weeks, and they're going to put her back in the hospital tomorrow. So
okay, Sure will. And Mike, we appreciate you and everything you do, and employees. And I want to start recognizing the businesses again. Mr. already brought that up. So next month, I'm going to ask Mr. Bryant if you'll recognize a business in your district.
Okay.
And Crystal, if you add that to the agenda, if you'll let Crystal know what business it is, so we can get a plaque and everything together.
All right.
And we'll probably go to Mr. Horton next month. And lastly, since July 4th is on Thursday, is that correct?
That's correct.
I would like to, since I'm chairman, I can't make this motion, but I will ask if someone will make the motion to give the employees that work hard for the county an extra day off, which will be the July 5th.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Have a motion from Mr. Horton. I have a second.
I'll second.
All right. I'll start the vote with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, that's all I have. And next we'll go to Mr. Watson.
I just want to say thank you to all the staff. I'm very appreciative. I know that staff is very appreciative for having that extra day off. July 4th is usually a really busy weekend, and I think it shows commitment that the board has to staff. And just want to say thank you for the things that you do for me. And I do appreciate all the effort that staff and the board puts toward make my job easier.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two action items I'd like to bring to the board's attention.
Sure.
First would be to consider approving a public hearing to be held on revisions to the Erosion and Sediment Control Program ordinance. That would be basically changes to the county's ordinances to harmonize them with recent changes that the General Assembly has adopted and DEQ regulations have adopted. Been working on this. I've got a draft that's almost ready to go to Mr. Carpenter for his review and comment as well. But I think if we can put this on for public hearing at the July meeting, we should be okay with advertising and the timelines and have the new ordinance in place beginning of July.
Okay. Would you add that to the agenda, Crystal? Thank you.
And the second item is to stay in keeping with the stormwater theme for this evening. I'd ask the board to approve some amendments to an agreement that was already approved by the board a few months ago. This is an agreement with the City of Galax and the Department of Environmental Quality for Galax to administer and review Virginia Stormwater Management Program plans for a development that is partially in the City of Galax and partially in the county. Rather than, as it currently stands, DEQ reviews the stormwater management plans for Carroll County, and Galax has its own approval process. And with this particular development that's partially within the city and partially within the county, it would really slow things down if the city's reviewing half and then it's sending off to DEQ for review of half. So the Code of Virginia allows an agreement of this nature to be put in place. And as I said, the board has already approved it once, but DEQ came back with some additional citations and additional language they'd like to see in it. So I've made those amendments as DEQ has stipulated. And at this point, I would just ask for action on the part of the board to approve that agreement as amended by DEQ.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion that we approve that. And
Okay. Motion from Mr. Horton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Start the vote with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
and Mr. Horton.
yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Durbin. Nothing else. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion, Mr. Collins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, let's start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Meeting adjourned.